Hello, ladies and gents! It's time for another episode of triple light tank action from World of Tanks, with a quick look at 3 iconic micro-tier lights. Today on the menu are the American M3 Stuart, the French AMX 38, and last but not least the German Panzer III A, all representing Tier 3. As before, a couple of disclaimers will apply. First of all, these are very old replays back from patches 9.5 and 9.6, where some of the mechanics and maps will be different to what you are used to today. These have also been some early Ace Tanker gameplays of mine, so my actual play is even worse than today, so try to focus on the machines rather than me. And last but not least, you can of course jump ahead to the machine of your choice. The timestamps stand ready in the description below. Alright, with this settled, let's jump straight into it, starting with the German Tier 3 light, the Panzer III A. When talking about famous German tank designs, everybody seems to know the Panzer IV. However, perhaps not many know that originally it was the Panzer III that was intended to be the primary battle tank of the German army. Armed with a 37mm gun, it did perform actually quite well in the Polish and French campaigns. And by the time of Operation Barbarossa, aka the invasion of Russia, the Panzer IIIs made up a huge chunk of the German armored forces. Suddenly, however, they were facing T-34s and KVs, and the tank that was designed to battle enemy tanks was incapable of penetrating the opposition in a frontal engagement. The design was quickly upgraded to a 50mm gun and received more armor, but as the Panzer IV version could adapt to the situation better with its 75mm gun, production of the Panzer III was stopped already by 1943. Not everything went to waste though. The successful chassis of the tank was used by the very popular and successful tank destroyer design, the Sturmgeschütz III, aka the Stug. This tank destroyer was in such high demand that over 10,000 of these hidden menaces were built during the Second World War, far outweighing the Panzer III's over 5,000 production number, many of which were eventually converted to Stugs as well. As for the in-game version, the Panzer III A far outclasses the other two in terms of firepower, having a mind-boggling 70% better DPM at its disposal. This is a lot down to the fact that in World of Tanks it gets the 75mm gun as its top gun, which in reality only the last models were equipped with, giving it a great penetration with 60mm and also a good alpha damage at 70 per shot. The rate of fire is blisteringly fast as well, capable of churning out 25 shots per minute, and that means a shot every 2.5 seconds. We also have a fairly good aim time at 2.2 seconds and an excellent 10 degrees of gun depression. It's really only the accuracy at 0.46 meters that lets the gun down a little bit, but this kind of inaccuracy is kinda common in the lower tiers. Moving on to the survivability, we can see right away where we have to pay for all that firepower. This thing is literally a rapid-firing glass cannon with 14mm of armor only on the hull and 30mm on the turret all around. Now it might be a little bit counterintuitive, but don't shoot the cupola of this machine. That's funnily enough the hardest part with 50mm of armor. Shoot it anywhere else though and you are golden. Mobility-wise, it has the best top speed at 68 km per hour, but it falls behind a little bit on its power-to-weight ratio and terrain resistances compared to the Stuart. All in all, however, it behaves as agile as you would expect from a low-tier light tank. The only thing that really could catch you unaware is perhaps the turret traverse speed that's only 36.5 degrees per second. Considering your otherwise overall good agility, this could mean that you are going too fast around your target, not being able to point your gun on the enemy tank. Just take your feet off the pedals every once in a while though and you should be just fine. As for the rest, view range and radio range are both average, though the latter falls behind considerably compared to the typically very good American radios. Camo is the best of the three though, so you can definitely play a more stealthy role as well. All in all, this is a very capable machine, and if you can look out for your health, it's capable of putting down some devastating fire, even in the higher tiers. Alright, this was a very quick look at the Panzer III A. Let's now take it out for a spin in the form of a very rapid 4-minute Ace Tanker gameplay. Alright, Panzer III A. let's put that fantastic DPM to good use. Right at the beginning, we are rushing down the hill as everybody is on both sides of Mittengard. And we should be able to spot quite a few guys from up here, and there we go. And that is a very unfortunate looking UE-57, which we unfortunately miss, but the second shot is spot on, and whoops, Marder II has a very dangerous gun, so let's try to not make something stupid. But since these were actually my first games, we will probably make something stupid anyway. And that's actually quite a cheeky one. We are nicely in cover, although moving would be even better, and yeah, that's why he did manage to sneak in a shot as well. And we just lost half of our health with one shot. Still, already on 2 kills, so not too bad, but let's see what we can get. T-82. Completely taken out, and yep, that is a tricky one. And we will have a look at that guy later on as well. You did see that we were shooting at the top of the turret, which is from the front. Actually, well, probably one of the best places to shoot at, but we were not able to go through that guy, and nope, at that angle from the sides they won't have much luck either. That's okay. We can also look for something a little bit more softer, so really don't want to move into anyone's fire there. The turret of the Panzer III A is actually not an easy target either. Also have to be careful, because these guys will keep on jumping out in front of us, so yep, this is not an ideal situation either. So let's move back. Maybe the AMX 38 has already left, but nope, still there. Side of the turret. No, he already moved back, so not much luck with that guy. That's okay, we should be able to have our revenge sooner or later, we just need to wait for a better opportunity. Let's make a move. Use our mobility, we take one shot, but we are now out of line of fire, and suddenly I realize, while I drive casually into the wall, that there are actually 3 enemy artilleries in this game. Oh, nom 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 nom. The AMX should be surrounded in a minute, so let's actually go arty hunting. Who will all be sitting next to the church, as is usual on Mittengard. So, we are fairly quick. We have a rapid firing gun. What's the worst that could happen? Okay, first customer's up. This is the French one, the FTBS, and whoops, yep, there we go, the slow turret rotation speed. Going at high speeds can be a little bit tricky. That's a tracking shot, and finally we are out. You really have to go close as well to be accurate with this gun on the move. It's not the best on shooting on the go, and this is dangerous. Quick, he's almost reloaded. And there we go. Pescucci's medal. And 6 kills. So that was fun. Ace Tanker, Top Gun, Pescucci's medal, and even a Scout medal on Mittengard. Lol. Let's now move on to another classic, the American M3 Stuart. Officially named Light Tank M3, this tank got its nickname on the American side after General Stuart, who served during the American Civil War. And the British called it Honey, because Britain. During its production cycle between 1941 and 44, an amazing 25,000 Stuarts rolled out of the factories, having served both in the US and also in the coalition forces. When the US Army joined the North African campaign, the empty Stuarts, armed with a 37mm gun, represented actually a large chunk of their armored forces. But after the disastrous Battle of Kasserine Pass, of which you will be able to read more in a few days over on the Wartime blog, most pure light tank battalions have been disbanded, and these machines were used in the future mainly for cavalry missions, keeping them out of tank-to-tank combat. It was not a failed concept though. The British soldiers for one liked it very much, especially compared to the mostly used Crusaders that had comparable armament and armor, yet were slower and less reliable. It also turned out to be quite successful on the Pacific front, where light tanks often had an advantage in jungle warfare. The M3 version got gradually replaced by the M5 Stuart, which was basically the same machine with a different engine and an automatic transmission. And eventually the design has been completely replaced by the more modern M24, aka the Chaffee, by 1944. The Stuarts were however not done yet, and later versions did see further service by several South American countries, for example. They were also used in the first Kashmir War between India and Pakistan and by the Portuguese army during the war in Angola. The M3 Stuart is still in active service today with the armed forces of Paraguay. The in-game version only gets several variants of the 37mm gun, so naturally our DPM will suffer as a direct consequence of that. Even with the Top Gun we are stuck at just over 1000 DPM, which of course is still adequate for our own tier. Penetration is 56mm and we have an average damage of only 40 per shot, though this gets compensated by the even faster rate of fire with 26 rounds per minute, which equals a shot every 2.3 seconds. Absolutely crazy. Luckily, the gun handling overall is just perfect. Apart from the amazing rate of fire, we also have a lightning fast aim time at 1.6 seconds only, and this thing is actually really good at shooting on the move as well. The base accuracy, while stationary, is 0.39 meters. The cherry on top is the typically good American gun depression at 10 degrees. Moving on to the protection, while the armor isn't as bad as previously, it's still not something you should really rely on. Frontally you have at best 38mm of armor both on your hull and turret, and the sides and rear are even worse with 25mm on the hull and 31mm on the turret. Toughest part of the machine is its beak with about 48mm of armor, but really, you can shoot this thing pretty much anywhere with most of the guns. Mobility is once again good news, as although we don't have the best top speed, you couldn't call 61 km per hour exactly slow either. What's even better is that the power to weight ratio, that's perhaps even more important, is very good at 28 horsepower per ton, meaning that your acceleration will be very comfortable indeed. Terrain resistances and traverse speeds are great as well, especially your turret traverse at 50 degrees per second is fantastic. This just reconfirms the fact that this machine does really well when circle strafing enemies. Regarding the utility skills, the M3 Stuart has actually the best view range and signal range from this trio, so it makes for a nimble little scout as well that can definitely make a fool of the enemy too, when the situation calls for it. Speaking about that, let's now have a look at another very quick 4-minute ace tanker gameplay and see how it performs on the battlefield. Alright, we are in the M3 Stuart and this is Mittengard. You might love it or hate it, but micro-tier matches on this map are usually a complete clusterfuck and absolute madness, usually over in a couple of minutes only. Now, beginning of these matches I did like to go up and take a few shots of the guys coming down from the hill, but not pushing quite up to the windows, cause then you can very easily be shot at the enemy down below, and LTTP, the front is a little bit tricky, and yep, that's a very dangerous gun, and that was a very, very lucky bounce from the FCM. Now you will see me make some rather stupid mistakes throughout this game, so yeah, this was one of my first games actually. And I quite like this machine, the mobility is great, the rate of fire as we can see is absolutely fantastic. And we can shoot that guy over and over in the head. Come on, let's snipe that cupola. There we go, only one more. Nice, first kill. Let's continue the push. An absolute mayhem is going on all around us, everybody's shooting everybody, mostly rather ineffectively. But then again, these are the baby steps of most players who are out here. So, looking for an opportunity without overexposing us. Let's see what we can find. Okay, LTP. Oh, he's kind enough to reverse back in front of us with his ass hanging out. And look at the accuracy, that's not a huge target, but we are able to get him exactly where we need to. Just over the tracks at the side of the hull. And the shot every 2.3 seconds is something that we can make very good use of. And oh, there is that nasty FCM, and our shot was just blocked by a sudden M2 who was sideways out. So let's see if he makes the same mistake again. Yep, he definitely wants to. Here we go. The turret should do just nicely. Second kill. And we are able to bounce some very low caliber shells here and there. But then again, FCM will mostly batter its way through. Again, we actually bounced the LTP as well. And this guy just keeps on giving us his side, and uh-oh, FCM is definitely going for us now. We definitely don't want to sit here, and we could have finished him there, but after taking that shot, I definitely felt like I had enough of it for a while. That's okay, let's play it safe. So far the team is still up. We already did well over 500 damage, which is not bad at this tier. And with the LTP only at 2 health, he should be able to push and get that guy. Come on, here we go. Yep, LTP is down, and that leaves us with the artillery. Let's see who we can get. The T-57 did come actually forward all the way to the front of the church. He reversed back up the slope and gave us a very easy kill. Not too bad, there is still the M7 priest to go, so let's make a run on him. Of course, while the M3 is quite good at shooting on the move, from this distance it can be a little bit tricky. Also, the typical trick is slow down just a little bit and then push on, accelerating as much as you can, and that will control your bloom. So, not exactly a skill-testing gameplay, but worthy of an ace tanker badge nonetheless, with 700 damage and 4 kills. And last but not least, let's have a quick look at that ridiculously well-armored little light tank. That's the French AMX 38. There isn't much history with this little light tank, unfortunately, as it only ever existed in prototypes. French tank designers at the time worked on replacing the aging Char D2, and the AMX 38 was a step in this direction. It was pretty much a cross between a light tank and a medium tank, using a 2-man crew and sharing some similarities with its predecessor, like the armor-protected Rex, for example. Only 2 of them were built, one with a 37mm gun and the other one using a 47mm version, but the trials were never completed due to the war breaking out, and so the machine never did see production. While not the most flexible, out of this trio, this is perhaps the most notorious tank of all, and it's all down to that armor. So let's have a look at it. Even at first glance, it's quite obvious that this is the most armored tank from the trio. In fact, it's probably one of the most armored tanks of the entire tier. Frontally, this thing is a beast with an overall 60mm of armor that, due to this sloping, in parts can reach over 100mm of armor thickness. Absolutely crazy at tier 3. Now if you have to shoot at it from the front, the top part of the turret is only 52mm thick, and if you get to shoot down on the not so well angled upper plate, well, you will have yourself the easiest of shots. Where many people get their shock is when they try to get behind them and then fail to penetrate them even from there. The sides and rear are all 40mm thick, even the tracks are protected with an extra 10mm, so there you actually need 50mm of penetration. There are some weak spots though that you can exploit. On both sides of the turret you can see a little patch where they only have 30mm of rather flat armor. And then you have the same with the massive commander's hatch that actually sits on the back of the turret. Whenever you get the chance, shoot this beast there. Sounds pretty OP? Well, don't be so hasty. Jumping over to the firepower, well, they had to compensate somewhere now, did they? You get a 47mm gun as your top gun, which doesn't sound that bad, but this is not a good gun by any stretch of the imagination. Your alpha damage at 55 per shot would still be alright, but it's that penetration of a measly 45mm that really holds this gun back a lot. Your rate of fire lags seriously as well compared to your opposition. At base, you have a less than 19 rounds per minute output, and that's not amazing at this tier. Aim time is 2.5 seconds, and even the gun depression is limited to 6 degrees only. All in all, yuck. And the good news just keep piling on. The mobility is god-awful as well, with a 25 km/h speed limit paired with an abysmal 10 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio. Just no. Add to this the 28 degrees per second turret and 32 degrees per second hull traverse, and comparing it to a drunk tortoise, and no, not the tier 9 one, starts to make a lot of sense. As the cherry on the cake, you also have the worst view range and signal range from this trio, but at this stage that really doesn't matter any longer. To summarize it, while you will have some pretty crazy games in this thing, there will be a lot of frustrating ones as well. And the worst one is, as soon as you are not top tier, your only strength is gone, and you are left with a big pile of, well, not much. Anyway, talking about a bit of craziness, here is a very short 3-minute clip to showcase some of the above. And action! Alright, so here we are in the AMX 38. We are top tier. Yay! So, let's see what we can do with all that armor. But before we can do that, we actually have to get into position, which will take a couple of minutes in this machine. So let's speed it up just a little bit. Oops, first target spotted. Cruiser 4, and yeah, we have no chance hitting that guy. On the move, from this distance, with that aim time. So let's not waste any time on it. Let's see if maybe somebody tries to rush this part, and this is the typical dangerous situation, looking down at the enemy team who will most probably camp the other side of this road. And if you are in a lightly armored machine, like the Panzer III A, getting spotted will be an instant death sentence. Not so much in the AMX 38. We can definitely be upfront and make a serious push. We should be able to deflect most of the incoming fire apart from the FCM-36 and the T-82 really. Of course, artillery can also wreck our day, but what's this? That's the T-82 actually. That's a dodgy shot. But it hit. It's actually on the other side of the tracks though, isn't it? I think he is, and yet this is the second shot that went in under the tracks, and alright, I guess we are happy to take that one. So first kill. So far we didn't have anything to test our armor, so let's make a push. We have some tank destroyer backup behind us, and oh, there we go, Panzer I-C. So firing here will most probably give our position away, and oh, that's a fire. Beautiful. And there we go, Panzer I-C on the other side is making a run for it. Let's try to protect, and yep, turning ourselves. Basically, putting our back towards the enemy would be absolutely suicide in anything else. Not so much in this machine. Now, of course, those are two very dangerous tank destroyers, especially the T-18 could have made some pretty nasty marks on our back. But that guy, unfortunately, for him, is not using the dirt gun. So that means we are just as easily bouncing him as all the other tanks, and look at this amount of opposition. The Su-76 is a dangerous one as well, but first is first, let's actually take out the T-18, just in case. Now the medium 2. In the meantime we can just sit here and not worry about a damn thing. That was in the meantime a bounce, actually a lot of bounces. We received 10 hits, most of them which we'll be able to deflect. So let's quickly take out the Su-76, 6 degrees of gun depression, the trick on us, and oh boy, The replay is a bit borked here, it doesn't show, but we are actually tracked by the FCM-36 and he keeps us in place. So our armor is not bad, unless it meets the right opposition. And then suddenly, it's hot garbage. Alright, this was then my quick triple review of some of the iconic Tier 3 light tanks. I hope you have been entertained. If you have, thanks a lot for considering giving this a like or sharing it. There is still a lot more content out there for the rest of the week as well, including a map guide from Armored Warfare and an article on the Battle of Kasserine Pass over on the Wartime blog, so stay tuned for the rest of the week as well. Take care everyone, and I look forward to seeing you again in one of the next videos.